welcome you this morning to our Drainage District Board of Directors meeting for today, April the 2nd, 2013. President are Commissioner Cuellar, Precinct 1, Palacios, Precinct 2, Palacios, Precinct 4, and myself. We have a quorum. Anybody sign up for open forum?
No, sir.
Our consent agenda, any concerns?
No concerns, Judge.
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Eddie, do you have an extra
Second.
pen? A pen? All right, those in, was there a motion?
Yeah.
A motion
First and
made and
second.
seconded to approve our consent agenda. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Morning.
Aye, motion carries. Item 4.
Item 4, discussion direction as it relates with existing water resource issues as requested by congressional representatives. We were fortunate to meet with several congressmen in Washington a couple of weeks ago, and I was able to go up there with some commissioners. And there's been a lot of concern up in Washington, similar to the concern down in our area, regarding the water issue along the Rio Grande River and the waters being released from Mexico. With all the discussion been going back and forth, it seems that the congressional or our congressmen would like to have the local officials get more engaged in supporting them regarding the needs of the water and regarding whatever little pressure needs to be moved on Mexico for the release of the water. It's our understanding that they'll be drafting some letters going to the administration to try to get the president engaged, try to get this off of dead center with Mexico not releasing the waters that we need. And also every day you read in the paper where there's shortage of the water, what's going to be impacting the cities, the impact of our agricultural and the communities. We are fortunate enough also to have a representative here from Congressman Filemon Vela's office to give y'all a more update as to where we're at right now. But one of the takes we did get from the congressman was to try to get some representatives from Hidalgo County, from the judge's office of commissioners, City of Edinburgh, the university, or whoever we felt appropriate to go up there and attend another meeting they're going to try to have with the Secretary of State regarding these water issues, but to make sure that the voice is heard of the needs that we have down here.
Godfrey, I know there was talk about doing a presentation or putting together a presentation by the consultants that would pretty much depict the micro and macro issues of the lack of water and what it could do to our community. Is that, where are we in on that?
We wanted to come before this court, Commissioner, to try to get full direction as to what this court wanted us to put together, and also authority to work hand in hand with our congressman on getting to this. I know you brought it up directly when we were up there as to where to begin. For example, the shortage of the water for the agricultural. Well, we have 3 power plants down over here that are in the Texas grid that we start reducing water, how are the power plants going to operate? Right. So there's a lot of big impacts, not just the agricultural community, but which will impact the whole state. So hopefully it was some discussion in a few minutes. Y'all can give us some better direction on it. But we do have Humberto here from the Congressman's office to give y'all an update. Commissioners?
Everything good?
Humberto?
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Humberto Garza with the Office of Congressman Filemon Vela, Congressional District 34. Godfrey's correct. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to this court and to this board of directors for assisting us and for helping with the water. This is water issue. This court was conscious enough in assisting us in putting together that resolution. Aside from that, a month ago we asked the communities that participate in the Council of Governments to do the same. Since that day we received 19 resolutions, of which we forwarded to Washington, and those are being put for all its intended use. On a quick update, Godfrey is correct, Mr. Garza is correct, we're putting together a correspondence or a proper formal way to address the State Department. The border congressional elements are all participating in this. Congressman O'Rourke, Congressman Gallegos, Congressman Cuellar, Congressman Hinojosa, alongside Congressman Filemon Vela, to insist and to push the State Department to be a bit more active and a bit more pressure-wise, the executive office, so that they can in turn make those proper directions, make those proper moves to the Mexico to get our water back. That's where we're at.
All right, sir.
If I may, Judge and Commissioners, Congressman Philemon Vela took the initiative. He was the first congressman we sat with. He felt it was an important issue enough to sit in the second meeting we had with Congressman Hinojosa's office, but special thanks to Congressman Philemon Vela. I know he's eager and willing to help us and assist us with this issue.
You're quite welcome, Commissioner. And I'm not sure if it's our district is the last one in the border, and our border congressional districts, and we take a little bit more to heart, and we're a little bit more concerned about this issue.
Any idea of the projected meeting with the Secretary of State's office?
Hopefully soon.
Okay.
As always, I'm available. I'm here available for any type of inquiries, concerns, thoughts, ideas.
Oscar, were you wanting to say something, or?
Yes, sir. I just walked in. We also got I went up to a conference in Austin, in San Antonio, and the entire discussion on the drought in the state of Texas was concentrated on the Rio Grande Valley. And they've got some major concerns. We've been prompted by the state, by TCEQ, the water master, and also several cities have called us to put a symposium together with the mayors and the city managers to make sure we're all pulling in the right direction. One of the issues that was brought up is that when people go into the conservation levels, there is not one conservation level that matches. All the cities have different levels. So they did express an interest, the cities, on having just one for everybody. There's some legislation up there right now that they're working on to try and pass that as a law. We can't wait for that down here. We'd like to get all the cities on the same level. To give you an example, there's only 5 cities that have gone into conservation level here in the valley, or in Hidalgo County. And when we sent out the questionnaire, I sent it out for this meeting, and I only got 5 responses, and the rest of them were like, well, we'll wait and see. Really, we're not at a wait and see right now, so hopefully we can put something here together. We're going to meet with somebody from the state and with the president of the Lower Rio Grande Valley Water Authority, and see if we can, get everybody pulling in the same direction. We're hoping to do that here in the next week or so.
Thank you, sir.
So, Commissioners, based on the comments that Oscar made, I think it would be my recommendation to work with Oscar and giving him whatever additional information instead of trying to address it in a two-prong. He seems to have a coordinated effort going with the communities, so I think it would be ideal for us just to piggyback with whatever information they need from us to try to stay focused on one group moving forward.
All right, sir.
Judge,
Yes.
what, if anything, do we have impacting on the rural area? A lot of the cities now have started to implement the different change for the city. And does it impact on ETJs or whatever?
I'd have to defer that to Oscar, sir.
Sir, are you saying in reference to if they develop if they put in a conservation level?
Right.
Yes, sir. The districts, the water districts, the water supplies companies have to do it themselves. And at this time, we haven't gotten any feedback from any of them that they've implemented it. The ones that have implemented are cities: McAllen, FAR, La Villa, Weslaco, Edinburgh. They've implemented conservation efforts. For instance, City of Alton sent back saying that they have not gotten any notice from Sherryland Water Supply. I'm not picking on Sherryland Water Supply, we just haven't gotten any feedback on the cities that get fed by North Alamo Water Supply that they've been told anything. So the idea is to get them all together so that, one, when we do say that there's a level, that they're all the same level, or at least we have an understanding of what they're doing. And the reason we want to do that is because we won't see a measurable impact unless we know what everybody's doing. So the other issue, sir, is that I know that in discussing the water situation, they've been separating it. There's 2 different issues here. There's the short term, which is this conservation effort. It's not going to do a whole lot for the short term. But if we don't get a storm, if we don't get a lot of water, if we don't get the influx from Mexico, then these conservation efforts will help us long term. We still have to make sure that we're doing okay short term. And the only way we're going to do that if all the cities and the water supply companies are working in the same direction. And that's the goal of having this meeting.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on then. Mr. Garza?
Thank you very much, Judge. Under item 5, requesting approval to rescind action taken by Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1 Board of Directors on February 7, 2012. Agenda item number 3085-5 A and B as it relates to the Mercedes outfall ditch 23. We're bringing this before the board in discussion with Commissioner Precinct 1 to rescind action and basically start working into trying to get this project moving. It's going to be a cooperative effort between Cameron County, Hidalgo County, Precinct 1, the precinct from Cameron County, to try to open up a ditch with partnering with TxDOT on the expressway drain coming south in the area. So based on Commissioner's direction, we have this item to rescind and then bring it back.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B, discussion and action of standalone project-specific professional liability insurance for architects and engineers on Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1 project. We've been moving forward in the negotiations with the consultants to move projects forward, but at the request of the judge, we've started looking at the insurance requirements that we have on the engineers for errors and omissions. Our standard policy right now is $1 million as far as aggregate composed with all of the projects they're doing. We did research with TxDOT and they require $2 million. Harris County Flood Control requires $2 million. Errors and omissions, but not standalone projects. In other words, the engineers uses their insurance to cover any and all designs they have going on. If we do look project specific, there's going to be an impact of additional fees that have to be paid by us to the consultant for the specific project insurance. We've gotten some results back that'll run anywhere between $3,800 to $4,200 a year for project-specific insurance for the duration of the project. So bringing on the engineer, your large firms probably don't have an issue because they'll just pass it on, but the smaller firms, the subs that are going to start working with them, it'll start escalating the cost. So we're here to request direction from the board. Do we stay with the insurance that we've got, which is what TxDOT uses and what Harris County Flood Control uses? Or do y'all wish for us to request specific insurance from each consultant for every particular project that is issued out?
What I was referring to was situations like the ones we encountered when we had that jail litigation. One of the engineers, the structural engineer, had $1 million policy when he started. By the time the lawsuit was settled, he was broke. I mean, there was no insurance because he had been sued by 2 other entities and they collected the money before we were in line. And that's why I thought it would be prudent to require that whatever policy that they provide to us, that it be project specific and cover us and not us and anybody else.
For that particular project, that's a good idea.
Okay.
So if that's the wish of the board, like I said, the companies that we've negotiated are ready to issue whatever insurance we require. So I'm just waiting for y'all to clear it. In the discussion we had with legal, it was an action that the board needed to give us authority to do.
Have you done any
we ought to do
projection?
Actually,
As far as cost, Commissioner, basically I can only give you the estimate that was given to us by one of the engineers, which is about a $3,800 increase per year for the duration of the project. So if we have a prime and he's got 4 or 5 subs below him, those subs are also going to be required to have the same insurance. So you could be looking at maybe $20,000 a year in additional cost for the district till the project is completed or the warranty period for 1 year construction is completed.
We are at $1 million right now, right?
Yes, sir, I believe. Jaime's our buyer. He can probably give you more details on it. Do we have $1 million right now, or do we have $2 million?
It's a 1 million.
What does TxDOT have?
$2 million, sir.
Let's go with TxDOT and per project, not per.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine, sir. We'll request $2 million general coverage with specific $2 million coverage per specific project.
do you need action on it?
Move for approval.
Move for
Yes, sir.
approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Very good. Item 6, request approval of a budget amendment in the district general fund for the additional cost to purchase certain asset equivalent from precinct 1 and a tract of land from precinct number 4. Basically, these are the allotments that the court had given us during our budgetary period to move forward and acquire the equipment from precinct 1 and not take it out of our bond issuance. And this is the tract of land that the board had also approved for us to buy from Precinct 4, which is the last parcel of land.
Move for approval.
I just have a point to make about all of this. I get so confused with all this changing around, and now Precinct 1 doesn't have a drainage department anymore. They have it with the drainage district, and now we've got some assets moving from one place to the other. It is so confusing. I really wish, and I always thought it would make so much more sense to have one road and bridge, not 4. And it's just part of what I would like to see with efficiency. But this is, I did have it explained to me. It's still confusing. I just, there's a lot of moving around, and I know it's to not have to spend bond money and all that stuff, but still, I would like to see a whole lot more efficiency, especially in this kind of thing. Thank you.
Where are the funds coming from, Godfrey?
From our regular allocation, if you recall, Judge, when we budgeted last year, we budgeted $2 million because we were going to bring all of these precincts in, and then the court agreed to only work with Precinct 1. So those monies are budgeted dollars that we have in our M&O. So we're using that money to acquire that equipment and not use our bond money to acquire, because it's good. The equipment we're buying is going to be for maintenance and operation. So that's why it's allocated out of there.
Oh, second.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 7, requesting approval to advertise RFB number 130140508, Alamo Expressway Drain Border Road Crossing Improvements. This is a project that we've been discussing and working with Commissioner Tito Palacios on, where we have a drain come from the expressway that ties into the floodway. They have a roadway there. They want to make improvements to the roadway. So it just makes sense for us to make whatever improvements we need to now for our structure, so the commissioner can make his improvements and not us come back later and tear his road up while we put in the crossing.
All right, move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge, Commissioners, I'd like to recess on item number 8 until Marty, oh, she's here, Marty, I'm sorry, I just saw her come in. This is related to the bank depositories, which basically the county's doing their system, and we have to wait for the county to take action on it, but I think she can explain a little bit better than I can.
Steve, do we need to recess, or can we just file a motion?
Wait for Marty to get here.
No, it's on your agenda. It's just that I would recommend that it be taken up after the county makes its ranking, only because there's a disclosure on the packet that advises the board.
Could we accept a motion that'll just confirm that whatever the county does, the drainage district will accept?
His
so
staff
we don't
was
have to
at,
come back.
his staff was an observer at the grading proceedings, so I believe she's probably
I have a
agreed
problem
to.
waiting for Steve.
Take action, then in our minutes, it shows what action we actually taken rather than just whatever the county does.
Okay, then we're going to recess for item 8. Then, any other items?
No, sir, that's the last item, unless the board wishes to entertain something in executive session.
Move to, you need action to move to recess?
Yes.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. There was
Thank you, Judge
no
Commissioner.
executive session item, right?
No executive session, sir. So
Can we-
we're under recess until the county brings the item up on your
All
agenda.
right. All right, at this time, we're going to be convening a regular meeting of the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court for today, April the 2nd, 2013. The entire court being present, we have a quorum. Please join us in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to get together to work for the county. We ask that everyone works together for the good of the county. We want to thank you for the rain that you have sent to our state. We ask and beg you for rain for our part of the state. We need it so badly, dear Lord, as you know. Please bless our families and our nation and our troops, wherever they may be. And bless our law enforcement, for it's a very dangerous time for everyone right now. And we ask all of this in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Couch. All right, our consent agenda, any concerns?
Yes, Judge, I would like to ask that consent agenda item 9M, as in Mary, be pulled for discussion.
Need a motion to approve our consent agenda subject to those three items?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Marty, 9, 10, and 11.
No, mine is just 9M. Is that correct?
9M, yes, and Mary.
Yes, Judge, there, at the point that the DBM, Department of Budget and Management, comes up, there is an agenda item to fund an additional $100,000 for Precinct 1 landfill account, and that'll be under Precinct 1. That will fund them for an additional two months. It's on consent. There's an item under consent under DBM. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the agenda item reads acceptance and approval to exercise the county's option to extend the final first year of the 2 one-year renewals as allowed in the contract. Stated
Correct.
there, landfill access for Precinct 1 area where Republic Services Incorporated, formerly known as BFI Waste Systems of North America.
Yes, sir.
Same rates, terms, and conditions. And
There's
that's sufficient funding.
24,000, I believe, in the account now. There's an item you're going to take up under consent, funding it at another 100,000 after. That's why I'm asking that it be approved subject to that action being taken. I understand that the precinct must take steps to fund it for the whole year.
So you're saying there's an agenda item to fund it?
Yes, under
later
DBM, on consent.
Sergio?
Yes, sir.
Which item would that be?
The item on consent?
I just have
Regular
my-
agenda.
Oh, yeah, the one before.
Consent?
No, I do. Just a moment. I'll get it for you.
Second page. Should be the second. Should be the second.
Over here? Yeah. Transfer? Oops.
It's item 4A. AI
There's
number
that-
37975.
But it's only to fund April and May of this year?
Well, from our projections, we're probably going to be funded April and May, probably a little bit into June. However, we do have, we're finalizing the RFP on the sanitation project, so hopefully we'll be able to reduce those costs considerably once we get that RFP out.
So actually, I can approve it subject to funding?
It's already funded, sir, for the next couple of months. Again, it's on an as-needed basis, depending on the amount of
Usage.
usage. So it's on an as-needed basis. There's no set amount that we need to pay.
So we're funded through the little bit of
That's your
June.
recommendation, right?
Yes,
Yes.
sir, we're recommending that we approve it.
We approve
So this is a one-year term, right?
the one-year option to renew, yes.
Yes, sir.
This is item what, Marty?
9M.
Mine is M.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
It's a one-year term, but you're funding only 2 months, so the other...
Based on current usage, yes, sir. Again, this is not a set contract for $25,000 a month. This is based on usage, based on the tonnage that we dispose
On an
there at
as-needed.
BFI. Hopefully, once we get the RFP out, that amount will be reduced significantly, if not completely. So we don't expect to have to continue funding this.
So we already know the usage for May, April and May?
We have projected numbers.
Okay.
On historic use.
Based on historical usage information, yes, sir.
So using that projection, we can do 10 more months, and you won't have sufficient funding for the other 10 months, right?
Correct. We expect usage to go down within the next coming months, sir.
So how are we going to fund it? Because it was approved subject to funding, so
No,
gonna
it's
be
already been
on a
funded
piece-
for the next several months, or again, this is on an as-needed basis. We can't foresee what we're going to be needing, 6 months from now.
Right.
Hopefully, that amount would go down once we let out the RFP for the rural collection program. So we're projecting that we might have to come back and fund maybe an additional month or two, but we would be bringing that back court during the month of June.
So you're going to be funding it on a piecemeal basis, as needed?
As needed,
Is that
sir.
what you're saying?
This is on an as-needed basis contract, and we'll be funding it as needed, yes, sir.
So I don't know if the approval subject to funding is proper, because
Well, I don't think it's subject to funding. The funding is there for the next 2 months, and depending on the usage, we'll expect it to diminish at that point.
And it would also be on a termination basis also. It has both. It is on an as-needed basis, and it has a 30-day termination clause. So in essence, it is a month-to-month.
It's on a month-to-month basis.
Any questions?
We recommend approval, Judge, Commissioners.
And then that's item 10.
The M.
9M.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have a vote? Did y'all vote?
Yeah, we had a motion, second.
Did you have a vote?
Did we have a vote, Judge?
I don't think so.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, under open forum, first presenter is Virginia Townsend.
I talked this morning with Steve Crane, and I know what the law says, but usually when a commissioner is going to go off, he didn't win the election, and there's some kind of committees to appoint, the commissioner usually, and I guess it's a gentleman's agreement, they usually say, I don't want to appoint because I'm going off, but I'll let the next commissioner appoint. But that was not the case this time. So I don't think a commissioner should be stuck with someone on a committee that somebody else appointed. It doesn't work out well. It's not right. They don't represent that commissioner, and something ought to be done about it. The other thing is, if ever there was a time when you all to work together and really do something outstanding and show that this county is moving ahead, it's now. We're taking some hits. I don't want to expound on it too much, but I would like very much to see that you all are working together toward a common goal of efficiency. If ever there was anything that I don't like to go by, it's the modular buildings. They drive me crazy. I don't think there's efficiency over there. I don't think there's been efficiency in getting them built or finishing them or doing anything else. And I know there's a lot of things, people demanding things and all that stuff that's slowing it up, but I don't care. I would have those people that showed up here, those 3 people that represent, don't know, builders, I guess, but I would have them every week, and they would tell me what is going on in those modulars to keep moving forward. It's terrible. I would never put up with that, guys. But maybe it's because women do have a little bit shorter patience level. I don't know. Anyhow, it's I just think we need to work together really, really hard right now and start moving ahead, getting things done, showing people. And the combination of the road and bridge is one of those things. It's so much more efficient, and it's going to save us money, and I wish we'd do it. Thanks.
All right, next presenter is Robert Jeffrey.
Good morning, my name is Robert She asked me to ask Mr. Flores if Mr. Commissioner Flores to help out because the police officer said that she needs this documentation of the contractor so she can proceed
I'm
with the
sorry,
complaint.
I'm not understanding what you're wanting.
Yes, to Commissioner Flores.
To do what?
He helped us out, and the owls help us out of the goodness of their heart to fix the mobile home.
Oh, what I did, Judge, his mom was in need.
Oh, that's Lydia Jeffrey.
Yes, and what I did, I don't think the county could help her, so I went ahead and paid for about $8,000 worth of improvements in the house. And I guess they still need some more stuff being done.
Yes, a lot, but the
Get
contract.
with Virginia and talk to her, and she'll call me and let me know what everything's about.
Okay, and the next thing is the Valley Metro. They're hurting the customers. Yesterday, a bipolar woman was left on Bryan Road and Expressway to walk to the workforce. She asked the driver to take her there. He said no, because I start from Walmart 3 Mile Line, then I go over there, and he forced her to pay again. When the other driver, the one that took her to McAllen, said, you can do that. So a few minutes ago, I called the manager, Rosie Cuevas, and she said she was going to check the tapes on the bus to see why they're speaking to a customer that way.
Mr. Jeffrey, I think if you visit with Ms. Townsend, but what you're asking for is not something that we could spend county taxpayer dollars on. You're fortunate that Commissioner Precinct 3 is willing to do it on his own. But whatever it is that you're suggesting or requesting, if you'll talk to Ms. Townsend.
Okay, all right.
She's my spokesman.
Thank you.
All right, next presenter is our County Democratic Party Chairperson, Kelly Salazar.
Thank you, Judge. I'm here on business unrelated to the party this morning. Kelly Salazar on behalf of Linebarger, Gogan, Blair, and Sampson. We're here to announce to the court that we're doing a tax resale this Saturday, April 6th at 9 a.m. at the County Courthouse Auditorium. And the properties that we'll be focusing for this resale is the Donna, La Jolla, Ed Couch, Elsa, Mercedes, and PSJA area. Then we'll have another tax resale on June 1st, and I will focus on the Edinburgh, McAllen, and Westlaco areas. And I have some color booklets for each of you to review, and if any member of the community is interested in more information, they can go to our website, www.lgbs.com, or stop by our offices in Edinburgh. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
If I can pass these out, Judge?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Victor, were you able to come up with any guidance on the involving open forum? Do you have it with you? All right, then we'll wait till next week. Between now and then, we'll talk.
Yes, Judge. It is
All right.
forthcoming, and we were able to find some good guidance.
All right. All right, next presenter is Opal Billman.
Good morning. My name is Opal Billman. In May of 1996, I was sued for divorce, which to my knowledge is not a crime. Joe Billman and I have community property, including a private lake. When I married Joe in 1952, the lake did not exist. The lake was dredged by Joe and me. Having a private lake on our community property is unique and the mineral rights along with the location of the land make the community property we own a valuable asset. The district judge determined our community property was excess land with no value and appointed an outside third-party beneficiary for our community property. In innuendo, I have been given to believe by brazen people seeking finder's fees that I have a $1,200,000 bounty on my head. When one has a court-appointed beneficiary, till death do us part takes on an entirely different meaning. When Joe and I are departed, the court-appointed beneficiary walks away with all of our community property. Show me that law. When Joe died, the law is that the case must be dismissed. 5 years after Joe's death, I was led to believe the case was dismissed. It wasn't. It was a deliberate deceit. A trial was held. By a jury of 6, I was found not guilty. A couple of years later, in December of 2010, a hearing was held, and once again, I believed the case to be dismissed. It was a deliberate deceit. Another trial was held. By a jury of 6, I was found not guilty. That's all, just not guilty. Wait a minute, hold your horses here. These trials are resolving nothing, and there have been 2 of them. What's going on here? Do you suppose there is a law the district judge does want to follow? How about we try you 3 times and you go to prison for life? Prison is a dangerous place. One could die there. And we've already had 2 unconstitutional trials that did nothing. The trials are a hoax, and they are barratry for the purpose of trial number 3. Oh yes, remember this is a divorce petition which requires a settlement of the community property. The judge divided $650,000 in future income. $266,500 of so-called future income Joe was court-ordered to give to the beneficiary. The beneficiary held on to the money for 4 or 5 years, and then, on verbal instructions from the judge, returned the principal to me. The beneficiary paid no income tax on this money, but when it was given to me, I paid the IRS $11,000 because it was not community property. It was supposed to be future income, but what it really was a loan. I am not an accountant. Does one pay income taxes on borrowed money that has to be paid back to the lender? I did. The district judge had one responsibility: to give a fair division of property owned by Joe and me and finalize the divorce. That did not happen. What did happen is the takeaway of property owned by Joe and me, which is unconstitutional and contrary to Texas law. Thank you very much.
All right, item 6. Is there anything new from last week? Rick, is there anything new? I know we had holidays in between.
Yes, sir, it's Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Judge Rick Olivares with the County Judge's Office. I want to report for the week of March 25th, House Bill 611 by Guillen. It relates to the regulation of subdivisions in counties, including certain border and economically distressed counties. This bill is in the Land and Resource Committee, and last week the action taken was, it was reported favorably out of committee and has been reported to calendars. So we've got to be able, what I wanted to do was report to the court that we're going to be tracking this bill a little bit more. Other bills that relate to the Planning Department is Senate Bill 170 by West. It's co-authored by Hinojosa. That relates to building code standards for new residential constructions in the unincorporated area of a county. It's in the Intergovernmental Relations Committee in the Senate, and it was reported last week favorably out of committee. Senate Bill 1623, relating to districts in certain counties located on the Texas-Mexico border, and also amending Chapter 288 of the Health and Safety Code. This bill is a bill by Hinojosa. Eddie Olivares, our health director, has more information on this. That's all I got, Judge. If there's any
What's the
questions.
status of the bill that regulating the sale of animals on the side of the road?
That's still in committee, Judge. It's pending in committee.
Who filed it in the House and the Senate?
It was carried by Munoz in the House, and I don't have information on the Senate yet.
What about the one related to the county auditor?
The Senate Bill 1426 by Hinojosa, Judge, relates to the appointment of the county auditors. It's still in committee.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
The previous question.
The one about sale of animals on the side of the road.
The dog. What was the status?
It's in committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, number 7, Mr. Guerra.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. There's no action under items 7A, 1 and 2, and B, 1, 2, and 3 today. Judge, Commissioners, item 8 for the Constable's Office, Constable Precinct 3, Constable Gallardo asked if I would present this item for him. He's asking reimbursement of $795, and this is for purchase of a rim that was damaged for one of his vehicles, and that was vehicle 329.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
All right, item 9.
Good morning,
Ms.
Judge,
Cortez.
Commissioners. Item 9 is under the Budget and Management. It's requesting permission to advertise, hire the following full-time position. It's 0021, Planning Analyst 1.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 10, our Sheriff's Office.
Judge, Commissioners, Richard Ozuna, Freetown County Sheriff's Office, on behalf of the Sheriff Guadalupe Lupe Trevino. Item 10A, it's requesting approval for reimbursement to Captain Steve Herrera in the amount of $40 due to the captain's fuel expense card did not work. Would he try to guess up?
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 10B, under number 1, is the approval to accept the FY 2012 Operation Stone Garden Grant from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, in the amount of $1,156,464 with 87 cents passed through the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item number 2 is the authorization to pay overtime reimbursements under the grant terms and conditions.
Let's cover 3 and 4 and 5. They're all related.
Yes, sir.
Move for approval.
Second. 3, 4, and 5.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you.
Did
Thank
that
you.
motion also cover item 2?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yes, they're all related to that grant, all the action we took. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge.
Item 11, Health Department.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Item 11A, discussion act and/or action including but not limited to indigent health care program and 1115 waiver and/or expenditures. On this item, sir, I'd like to bring up a couple of things very quickly. One is I got contacted yesterday by some representative from the hospital groups here in South Texas regards to a hearing that is taking place tomorrow in Austin involving Senate Bill 1623, which discusses the development of a local participation fund for the hospitals, where in turn the hospitals themselves, this is a Senate bill introduced by Chuy Hinojosa, and that amends the Health and Safety Code to allow more local control over funding for healthcare services on the Texas-Mexico border by allowing Hidalgo County, Webb County, and Cameron counties to create a local provider participation fund based on outpatient hospital visits. The bill amends HB 2463, authored by Mike Verrial in 2005. Senator Kyle Janik in the Senate was the one that signed the bill, and put the bill together, and Governor Perry passed it back in 2005. The bill actually, House Bill 2463, created by the Health District to support the local health care safety net in certain counties along the Texas-Mexico border, and was incorporated into law at Chapter 288 Health and Safety Code. All throughout the district, although the districts were created, they were never fully developed due to lack of support from Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. Senate Bill 1623 addresses the CMS concerns to allow the districts to become fully operational. These health districts are critical to South Texas because of the lack of funding for healthcare services. The district itself, sir, will look in helping us to develop the funding to get the additional multiplier that's available. We've left over $500 million on the table for a multiplier to be able to match from healthcare services. In South Texas, 11 hospitals between Eagle Pass and Brownsville, nearly over 400 miles, there are adult safety nets in jeopardy. One of the concerns is that under 1115 transformation waiver, $141 million of unused DSREP money is connected to South Texas border region. That equates to 54% of $1 billion unfunded for DSREP for Texas and South Texas. So the goal is to try to come up with a mechanism to create more intergovernmental transfer funding to be able to get as much of the multiplier as possible to deal with this.
All right, let's talk about this. You got a phone call.
Yes, sir.
That this bill is going to be considered in Austin.
It's going to committee.
And they want you to go and testify or what?
Yes, sir. They asked me to see if we could go present and testify in supporting this bill where the hospital, aka Hidalgo County Clinical Services Corporation, which is the hospital group here in Hidalgo County, was asking if we could support this, where we would develop the participation fund from the hospitals themselves would pay that in a form.
And this is to create a taxing body? Is that what you're
That's exactly right, sir. What would happen here, the hospitals themselves would pay a tax directly, a utilization participation tax.
But do they want a taxing body to be created where the taxpayers, hold on, Eddie, where the taxpayers of the county are going to be taxed by another body?
The taxing entity was developed in 2005, but it was never fully developed, okay? And so that's where this bill would support and amend, this Senate bill would support and amend that bill back from 2005. The initial taxing district would start, and the fund for that taxing district would come from the hospitals directly.
Not from the taxpayer.
That's the way the Senate 23 is set up right now.
Is that
but
yes?
Eventually, eventually it would come from the taxpayers. Eventually it would.
Yeah. Eddie, who's going to pay, the hospitals or the taxpayers?
The hospitals is paying for this local participation fund right now. The hospitals would pay for it.
But if the taxing district is created, who's going to pay?
The hospital district will continue. The hospital will continue to pay, but eventually the citizens would pay.
When you say eventually, when?
Well, depending on the other three bills that have been introduced by Senator Hinojosa and some of the senators from South Texas, there's three other bills involving the indigent care component and the medical school component. So depending on those issues, I think all of it placed together as a big package.
So this is the taxing district that they're talking about that will help establish a medical school?
This would help get additional funding. This is not the medical school taxing district. This is totally separate.
So there's going to be another one on the way?
I think what happens is that the way I understand it so far is that this and the medical school one would eventually combine. It would be one taxing district for both. That's what I understand, sir. I mean, I don't have the full picture. I mean, this is at a preliminary level. But eventually, they're going to have to deal with medical school and indigent care. They're going to have to deal with that.
Well, I know we've discussed the one about the medical school, and it appears like the court was very supportive.
Yes, sir.
But this one, it sounds like it's a different one, and that's what concerns at least me.
I understand, sir. And one of the things that myself and Mr. Crane and Sergio and and Bobby Varrial, we've had discussions where they're going to have to merge this eventually. This is going to have to become one taxing district. And the number one concern that I had was, how do you differentiate between medical school and indigent care? And that's a big concern. I mean, how do you keep those figures separate? And there's mechanisms to do that. There is mechanisms to follow through with that. The other thing is, we have an opportunity here that the hospitals themselves would help be able to assist with getting the matching funds for this via these fees and these taxes.
So what you're here asking is, I guess, some direction from the court as to what you ought to do at the hearing. Should you support it, be against it, or?
Right. That's exactly right, sir.
All right.
That's exactly right.
Eddie, you've been in the field for so many years. How many years?
I've been over 20-some years in the healthcare field.
Real quickly, what is the pros and cons supporting it or not supporting it?
Well, the con, of course, is going to be, I'll start with the cons. The con would be, in the long run, the con would impact the taxpayers in our community. I mean, flat out. I mean, I'm not going to, that's the way it is. In the short run, maybe in the next 4, 5, 6 years, the positive thing is the hospitals themselves would be actually contributing to it as well. Okay? And then we'd be able to turn around and make that money and get it matched over the next 3, 4 years. And that match is key, because we'd be able to pretty much, if we put, for example, 100 million, we're able to generate 250 million, or 275 million.
Will that match take away our obligation for the aid, what we're doing right now for indigent care?
No. No. The 8 we're doing now is still part of what we're doing. I think eventually, once the health district gets going, the county can remove that 8, but it needs to get operational and get going. But for right now, immediately, or the next year or two, probably not.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, sir, the way I look at it.
Well, you're here, and we're asking for your opinion.
I would say no, not for the first couple of years. Once it gets established and gets going, I could see that eventually transitioning fully over, but the initial startup is not going to be something that can be that could be covered right away. And there's going to be costs to the county too. I mean, I was talking to Sergio right now, this initial startup cost of this component, because say that the hospitals are the ones that pay the tax or pay the fee, the utilization fee, there's going to have to be collections, assessment, review. So there is going to be some staffing involved initially from the county. Now, eventually the district would pay it, but the startup cost would be there. And I'm guesstimating, based on between $100,000 to $150,000 to get this started. That could be reimbursed from the tax itself, but there's going to have to be some initial startup cost.
All right. Are there any questions from?
Eddie, just forecasting when you get into a taxing district, and I know we're speculating at this point in time, knowing that it's going to affect the taxpayer, what's the potential scenario that will come up with who would oversee this board? I think it's important, because at the end of the day, they're being taxed by county, city, drainage districts. I mean, all sorts of different entities, and we want to ensure at the end of the day, who's ever at the forefront of it answers to the taxpayer at the end of the day.
The way the Senate bill is put together, the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court would have that control. It would be similar to what the Water District does, where you all would be the board that oversees that. So that's the way this is set up, the mechanism. As of today, I don't know what the final, if it ever gets approved or not, I don't know where it would eventually wind up. But the reality is that Commissioners Court would have a lot of the input and oversight of that.
And that oversight would be, we would appoint the members of the district, or we would be the members of the district?
I think initially you would be the members of the district, but and then I could see where if you all wanted to get to the point where you appointed them, that will be set up within your bylaws and your rules as once this is set up. But at this point, I would say you all are until a formalization of the district comes into place and the bylaws and are created, and at that point you all could develop that mechanism based on information we have at that point. But initially I would say you all would be, but and then it could become as you all determine as a body.
All right, Mr. Olivares is seeking direction. What's the wishes of the court?
Judge, I think it's imperative that we work with hospital districts. I do believe in taking advantage of increasing IGT so that we can get more funds in for healthcare, whether it's indigent. I think there's a lot of, it's a very complex situation.
Very complex.
Of course, we haven't crossed the final bridge just yet. I think this is just a preliminary state of trying to get somewhere. Ultimately, I think at the end of the day, hopefully we need to forecast and plan well enough so that obviously we do it at the least expense of the taxpayer or the county. But we do have a fiduciary duty to health, so.
Yeah, we do. And I think one of the main things on this is that this will give us an opportunity to be able to maximize on that federal match. That federal match that we're leaving on the table, it's going to be picked up by Houston or Dallas or San Antonio. It's going to be picked up. It's not going to be left on the table to go back. Someone will pick it up because the other larger urban areas have the tax base and the tax revenue to just pick it up. I know Houston has an additional 600 million waiting to use to pick it up. So I guess for us, it's an opportunity to get the multiplier, but we got to think this thing through real carefully also, because the impact to our community can be very positive economically, but it could also be impacting the taxpayer and our community residents significantly. So it's, we got to weigh it out, but it is an opportunity. One of the things that I spoke to Mr. Crane about, and I like to, so we could have it on record, is that I did speak to Mr. Crane in regards to possibly seeking some additional advice for Commissioners Court and maybe seeking a legal advice or legal counsel that specializes in these issues, in dealing with the tax districts or dealing with these things, because I think you all need to get someone who can guide you to the best interest of the county. Not
You're it, Eddie. You're it.
No, sir, I'm not a legal person. No, sir. I think there needs to be some consideration for that, just from the fact that we need someone who's going to review things that's going to be for the county's benefit versus all the other partners' benefits.
What do you recommend that we authorize you to do tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow I could go and present at this hearing and talk about the importance of setting up this fund and having this fund taking place from the hospitals, but that I do not have any authorization to speak about any additional taxation or anything else on the residents of the county. This is specifically for the hospitals, and that's the way this bill is written. So I could take it from that point of view and say that that's the purview of my jurisdiction, of my area that I've been allowed to, that this would be only focusing, as bill is written, for a hospital participation, local participation from hospitals only. I do not have any authorization or jurisdiction to go beyond that.
All right. There's no item that authorizes to take action, but we can provide you with direction, or do you want action?
Just direction. I just want it on the record that I got permission to go.
I thought you promised us it was not going to be a taxing entity.
Well, eventually it's going to be to the medical school.
Are you sure?
Right, eventually, yes. I'm just telling you, to the medical school. Go ahead.
No, we don't need another taxing entity.
Maintain.
Do you know, I mean,
I was wondering why you stepped out when he was going to talk about creating a taxing body.
Because I had an assignment to talk to somebody. But no, not another taxing entity. Find another way, please. Okay. Oh, my goodness.
Judge, if I may, just to clarify.
Yes.
The bill that Eddie's talking about is only taxing the hospitals. you're adding other bills into this that are not before the committee that he's going to testify before.
Right. This Senate Bill 1623 exclusively deals with this local participation fund from the hospitals, nothing else. Okay? Now,
Eddie, excuse me. What I'm understanding is you're asking for permission or approval to go and testify.
Yes, sir.
With the understanding that you will not touch on taxing authority or whatever.
As long as there's no tax increase or another tax bodies.
This local participation fund, for lack of a better term, is a tax.
It's a tax.
It's going to be paid by the hospitals. I have to be very clear.
Well, the hospital they're voluntarily agreeing to pay that tax.
Yes.
I don't think anybody here has any problem with that. It's that eventuality that you were talking about.
But Judge, to clarify, when he's talking about the eventuality, you're talking about the other bills, correct?
I can't hear you.
You're talking about the other bills when you're talking.
Yeah, the other bills that are out there still pending.
Oh, no. Then let's just concentrate on the one you're going to be there tomorrow.
This one's strictly hospital participation fund.
Okay.
Exclusively.
Why don't you make a motion in a second?
But there's, like I said, there is other bills out there, but this one is to the hospital participation fund.
Based on your response to that, I don't see anything wrong with doing that, Judge. It is not committing the county to anything.
Correct.
The way I understand that's correct, sir. But you know what, sir? If Senator Hinojosa is the one that filed this bill, getting in contact with his office would be beneficial to each and every one of you, just for clarity.
Yes.
Well, we are through you, Eddie.
I understand, sir, but at the same time, I just want to make sure that I'm not the expert end-all be-all to all of this, sir, because these things are very fluid and they're very quick. And so for me, the way I understand this bill is specifically dealing with a hospital participation fund, period.
Yeah.
That's what this bill is about.
What was the bill number?
We need a motion to authorize Mr. Olivares to go and represent the county and testify in support of that particular bill, allowing the hospitals to pay for these taxes that are going to be assessed.
That's my motion.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay. I have additional items, sir. I have item 11B, requesting approval, and I'm actually very excited and proud to say that over the next several items I'm presenting, we're bringing in over $860,000 of funding to the county and grants and other programs we've chased down and been able to help with. Item 11B is requesting approval to submit the renewal grant application for the Regional Local Services, Local Public Health Services Funding FY14 in the amount of $102,403.44, sir.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge, I got a question in reference to 11A. 11A, the way the agenda item reads, I think you took action, but the action was to authorize him to attend, right?
To go and testify in support of that particular bill.
Okay. But that's not what the agenda item read, so he's saying somewhere in there.
Well, the bill relates to indigent health care. That's, the whole issue is health care.
I think the issue, the Senate bill is related to the hospital bed tax.
It's related to 1115 because 1115, the tax would be, the funding would be used to multiply through disproportionate share and incompensated care, which deals with indigent health care.
All
as
right,
well.
go ahead. Let's move on. We got to get through.
Item 11B, sir. You're taking action.
We took action, Eddie.
Okay. 11C, requesting approval to apply for the 2013 Binational Health Council funding amount of $4,200, sir.
Move for approval.
Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item D is requesting approval to submit the renewal grant application for Title V Child Health Funding FY14 for a total of $97,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 2 is requesting the approval to submit the renewal grant application for Title V funding on item D2.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item E is requesting approval to apply for county training funding in the amount of $10,000.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item F is requesting approval to submit renewal grant application for immunization funding FY14, which totals up to $649,000.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item G is requesting approval to renew the non-commercial political certifications for following Health and Human Service Environmental Division employees as stated on the chart on that form for a total of $48 for licensing.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And just, sir, none of these grants
What
that
is
we...
a political certificate? What does that authorize them to do?
Basically, they get their license. That's a procedure we got to follow through now
Right.
from auditors and procurement.
Thank you,
So,
sir. Motion carries. Item 12.
Judge, can we go back to 11A? I had a concern regarding that item. And my concern is there's no supporting documentation attached, number one. Number two, you took action on something that there's no supporting documentation to what you actually approved. And so I don't know what is it that the county clerk is going to be able to maintain as far as documentation.
The county's not obligating itself to do anything other than just support a bill that will allow the hospitals to tax themselves.
No, that I understand. You took action to allow gentlemen to go and testify.
And in support of the bill
Right.
on behalf of the county.
All right. But there's no supporting documentation to that effect, Judge. On the agenda item, it read discussion and end on action included but not limited to indigent health care program 1115
What are you
waiver.
looking for? Request for payment? I mean, I'm sure that'll come later as to whatever expenses Mr. Olivares incurred.
Well, if there's a question later on as to what you approved, there's nothing to support what the action you took.
Well, we approved him going and testifying in support of that bill. He named the bill.
So just the minutes will be the supporting documentation?
Yes.
All right, gotcha. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, sir. Item 12.
Judge, Commissioners, Oscar Montoya, County Judge's Office of Emergency Management. Basically, I kind of said everything earlier. Just a couple things to add. I think the idea here, and as I explained earlier, was that we just need to keep focused on the water situation, that there's two different ones, short-term and long-term. And in the meeting of the cities, what we'd like for them to do is make sure a good amount of the cities are aware of what's going on. There's just some of the cities that are not. So if there's any other guidance of anybody else that you all would like to see invited to this meeting, currently who we're going to invite is probably the mayors and their designees of all the cities in Hidalgo County, the precincts, the different water authorities, and to try and see if we can come up with a way to get them all to be on the same page as far as what they're doing for conservation efforts. Other than that, over there at the state, they identified us as D4, which is the worst drought situation you can be in. And the state has assured us, like I said earlier, that we're not going to be without water. There is going to be some struggles, but that it is going to affect our farming community pretty heavily. So we do need to work in the same direction. If we don't work in the same direction, we won't be doing any long-term improvements to our water situation. Different things that they're looking at is burying the line. I mean, that's one of the, we lose like 20% of our water to seepage and evaporation. They've looked at desalination. They've talked about drilling and using the brackish water. You know, everything's being looked at. They just haven't come up with a solution and the funding for it yet. So we're meeting with the congressman offices, the different congressman offices, and the state to see if there's any funding available. Other than that, hopefully at this meeting we could do something for the long-term conservation. If there's any other direction or any other place that you all would like for me either to invite or to talk to, I welcome the advice.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you.
Item 13.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Item 13A is requesting approval for the following claims invoices as listed, and these are claims for Verizon local phone service out in the Westlaco area. Purchasing Department and IT are still working on trying to find these services through a state contract, but in the time being, we need to catch up on the bills, and this is the local phone service out in the Westlaco area.
And how old are they?
It's just for the year, sir. just this year.
What department is this, Valdi?
Second.
What department is this?
We pay these out of the countywide budget because these are the data lines that connect to those offices, is what we use for inter-office communications. I believe that's what we're getting this out of.
It's countywide, you think?
Yes,
The
sir.
usage?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The next item, Judge, is a claim for bottled water for the IT department. These are small invoices. I'll make sure this does not happen again. I'm not exactly sure why these are.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item C is the authorization to continue wireless device services. As listed, these are the data cards or data card for our indigent defense department.
Renan, is any of these retroactive?
Okay, so they shouldn't be. So from the moment that we approve, it should be forward. I haven't seen you honor any of these approvals retroactively. At the beginning of the year, we always ask departments to submit their paperwork to continue the cell phone service. Apparently, this department had not complied until this day in court. So any pending invoices before that, I am advising departments to bring them to court as claims. We have another department in the same situation.
Yeah, that's what I read when you're saying
Yes, sir.
continue, and I'm assuming it's already in place.
Right now, I agree that it's badly worded. It shouldn't say continue. It's approval and forward, pretty much.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion
Thank
carries.
you. Have a good morning.
Thank you. Item 14, Urban County.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. The first item on the agenda is requesting your approval of a proclamation declaring the month of April 2013 as Fair Housing Month and authorizing the county judge and county clerk to sign any and all documents relating to this agenda. This is part of the Fair Housing Act, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, which has been in effect since April 11th, 1968, which authorizes the court to honor the protection of the rights of all Americans to access housing regardless of race, color, sex, religion, national origin, familial status, or disability. I'm sorry?
Aye, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Did you leave out the word item after agenda?
Item after where?
Because otherwise you're covering the whole agenda, which,
And I'm covering item A.
yes. So there is a word item after agenda.
Agenda item.
Agenda item A.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item B.
Item B is a presentation and approval of a proclamation declaring the week of April 1st through April 8th as CDBG Week. This is the 39th year that the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development has been serving the Americas cities and urban counties through its CDBG program, and we'd like the court to recognize the week as CDBG Week.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item C is requesting the approval to reallocate fiscal year 2011 home funds in the amount of $65,000 from the Community Housing Development Organization Program and the funding to the Owner-Occupied Rehabilitation Program.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B on Section C is requesting the approval to reallocate $25,000 from the 2011 home funds, also from the community development, to the Home Buyer Assistance Program.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item D is requesting the approval to submit a performance statement and budget amendment to the Hidalgo County Colonia Self-Help Center contract, grant number 71-2013, under the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, Office of Colonia Initiative. This will be the first performance budget amendment.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item E is request to approve to increase the 2011 Home Community Development, the Home Community Housing Development Organization contract between the Urban County Program and Proyecto Azteca. This amendment will allow us to increase the Proyecto Azteca fund by $100,000, providing a total amount of $500,000.
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. And that 500,000 is to do what?
To help with the construction of housing with the
Okay.
colonia applicants in the colonias.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item.
Item F is also a request to increase the 2011 Home Community and Housing Development Organization contract between Proyecto Azteca and the Urban County Program. This will allow for an increase of $110,000 to their 2011 funding, increasing their funding up to $560,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay, item G is requesting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code 262.024 for professional appraisal services.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The next item is the presentation of the scoring grid for the purposes of ranking by Commissioners Court. This project is a Precinct 1 project related to the GLOW contract for the Delta Area Connector. The 3 appraisal services evaluated were Leonel Garza Jr. and Associates with a grade of 91.34, HLH Appraisal Services with a grade of 90.34, and Professional Appraisal Services with a grade of 90. Would you like to rank them in that order?
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B is the authority to negotiate a contract with the #1 ranked firm of Leonel Garza Jr. and Associates.
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Diana, this is a project specific?
I'm sorry?
There is a project specific?
This is project specific for the GLOW contract.
The yellow.
This project it's not one of the ones that we got that bond issue for, is it?
No, sir, this is having to do with the
Correct.
disaster recovery.
All right, thank you.
Item H is requesting the exemption from competitive bidding requirement under Texas Local Government Code for a professional service.
Move for approval.
Check.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B is a presentation of the scoring grid. This is the sole member of the county's approved pool of professional review appraisal service providers, so therefore we only had one, and that was HLH Appraisal Services with a grade of 90.67.
Move for approval.
Second.
Diana, is that the same project or not?
Same project, we have to have an appraisal and then appraisal review.
2 separate processes?
2 separate processes, yes.
Thank you.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item C is requesting authority to negotiate a contract with HLH.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Motion carries. So Mr. Garza is going to do the appraisal and HLH is going to review it?
Yes, sir. That is a process we have to do for each and every appraisal that we do. And we're going to have plenty for this project. I understand there's going to be at least 50 parcels.
It's going to be what?
At least 50 parcels.
How much per parcel are we talking about?
I don't know, we'll have to negotiate that.
Okay, that's right. Thank you.
Okay, my last item, Judge, has to do with the consideration and approval to authorize the submission of a contract amendment number 6 to the performance statement and budget amendment to the General Land Office, contract number 10-5066-000-5043. This is a contract formerly known as the TDRA Disaster Recovery Program, and this will include changes to Minnesota Drainage Project to reflect the modifications and change orders necessary to meet project specifications. It will also allow us to transfer funds that were surplus from the other completed projects that were part of round 1.
Move for approval.
This is precinct 2, right?
This is in precinct 2, yes.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B is requesting the approval of the revised resolution regarding the funding from the General Land Office for this Precinct 2 project.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 15, elections.
Good morning, Judge
Good
Commissioners.
morning.
Amanda Valdez from the Elections Office. 15A, approval of the appointment of members to Hidalgo County Vote Centers Committee based on recommendations from Judge and Commissioners. Melanie is passing out a new list. It has the names of the persons that have been approved previously. And in red, you'll notice at the bottom, there are 3 more names and 1 more that we're going to add. For the OWLS representatives, we're recommending Jim and Elizabeth Barnes. A community member, Dalia Elizondo Garcia. And under Commissioner Precinct 2, we spoke to Mr. Silguero, and I believe he is going to be the representative for that office.
Raul?
Yes.
Okay.
And that needs to be approved.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
You'll notice also on the back of this, we also included the information for the workshop that we had scheduled with Lubbock County. They're going to be here and they're going to present a workshop to Commissioners Court. It's going to be on April 17th at 10 a.m. We're actually going to hold that at the Edinburgh Conference Center at Renaissance. It's a much bigger venue, and we're inviting anybody who wants to come to attend. We're sending out invitations formally later this week. We just wanted to let you know. And then on the bottom, there's also the date and time for the committee meeting,
So
which
it's
is...
going to be posted so all of us can attend.
Absolutely, yes.
And these are individuals from Lubbock County that are coming here at their own expense.
They are coming here at their own expense. They're paying for their own flight, their own hotel, their own rental. We have the elections administrator and her chief deputy coming in, and 2 of the county commissioners.
Are we at least treating them to something, a dinner, a breakfast?
We are treating them to dinner, hopefully. We're supposed to get their schedule sometime today so that we can make better
Have you
plans.
cleared that with the auditor?
I
We
believe
wanna make
Mrs.
sure
Ramon,
with-
I believe Mrs. Ramon spoke with Mr. Ofracio about it.
Is he invited? Is he invited?
Yes.
All
Okay,
right.
and that was just informative. Thank you so much.
All right, next item is 16, WIC program. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. I have item A, requesting approval of the Nutrition, Physical Activity, and Obesity Prevention Grant Amendment Number 2012-041053-001A. And the purpose of the amendment is to revise the general provisions to include the potential need for the utilization of 5% for public health emergencies and/or training. And the effective date of the amendment is 02/26/2013.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 17,
15.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners.
yes, go ahead, sir.
Raul Sin, Planning Administrator. First item on the agenda is preliminary approval of, let me hold up. Would you like to hold these collectively? These are preliminary. They have been reviewed by the Subdivision Advisory Board, all the in-house departments. It's coming before you for a preliminary approval so they can move on the construction and development of the development. And then our office will monitor the construction along with the environmental health and the right-of-way department, and before final approval is granted. So if you like, I can read it for the record collectively, with exception of item 1.B, which Commissioner Flores has already signed the affidavit of abstaining from it. Would that be okay, Judge, and the court, or would you like to hear them individually?
Yeah, go ahead, cover them all.
Okay, just for the record, the first item will be preliminary approval of Evergreen Valley Estates Phase 5 subdivision, Tulipan Villa subdivision, Rio Rico North subdivision, and Rancho Sarita subdivision. And those all developments, as I've mentioned, have been reviewed by the respective county departments and my department as well, and it has been presented to Subdivision Advisory Board, and they are recommending preliminary approval with further comments before, or addressing any further comments before receiving final approval.
And our advisory committee has authorized, given approval?
Oh, yes, sir. They go into a lengthy discussion. The advisory board that you appoint actually does a very diligent
And the environmental department has also approved it?
All the departments, the requirements have been met for preliminary approval. They all get consulted, the engineer visits, and then we in-house visit with them as well.
Steve, is it proper to approve them as a whole with one,
Well, what you're going to do is approve 1A, C, D, and E in a separate motion on 1B.
I'll move to approve 1A, C, D, and E.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And then item
Need a
1B,
motion?
Judge, if I may? Yes, sir. It's Vaquero Estates Phase 3.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, and for the record, Commissioner Precinct 3 is abstaining.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Item 2A is Adalia subdivision. It's a precinct 4 subdivision. It's just a two-lot, single-family subdivision. It has gone before the Subdivision Advisory Board and all the respective departments, and everything has been constructed. It's basically a family division. They are divided to comply with the model rules requirements, and everything's in order for the final approval.
Second.
Were there any concerns expressed by either the advisory group or the environmental department?
That I'm aware of, no, Judge. There's everything is pretty straightforward here. The lot is just a two-lot division, sir. It's not a very cumbersome type of project.
Those in favor of the motion is made and seconded indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The last one is Los Novillos subdivision, and this is a release of reimbursement of $1,000 for the installation of a septic tank. This would be leave a balance remaining of $31,000 in the account for the rest of the septic tanks that must be installed. So it's environmental health has signed off on it as well, and everything's ready for release.
Motion made and seconded. Who are the principals so we can know whether or not we should abstain?
Los Novillos, I don't have that in front of me, Judge. I can find that out, but I don't believe there is any conflict that I'm aware of.
All right. If there does turn out to be one, please notify
I
us.
will provide that information in just a few minutes, Judge.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And just for the record, it's KCJC Real Estate Partnership is the check that was made out to the county. So, but I'll find out a little more in depth than that, Judge, and get that answer to you in just a few minutes. The next item is the consideration and possible action to require the installation of filling stations in new county subdivision as part of the development approval process. My office prepared a memo to the court regarding the fire hydrant situations that we have in the county. Currently, in the ETJ of a city, traditionally the cities review the developments and require installation of fire hydrants. However, back in 2008 or 2007, the legislation required that the fire hydrants, or gave the option for the hydrants to be painted black, since the rural water supply companies are not necessarily in the firefighting business. They felt that because they couldn't provide the 250-gallon per minute requirements for fire flow, or couldn't certify, they said they could paint their fire hydrants black. Now, that doesn't mean they're not operational. They just mean that they're not being required to combat fires or certifying that they can combat fires. However, most of our system out there would be used as a filling station. You would have a fire hydrant there painted black, and it would be used to fill the water trucks instead of having to go somewhere into the let's say if you're out in the rural area and you have a black fire hydrant, you can use it to fill the water trucks instead of having to travel 10 more miles, 50 more miles to go fill up the water trucks and go to combat the fires. We've been looking at this, Judge, because we feel that this is this will help promote the life, safety, and welfare of the general public, and we want to be on top of this and make it a requirement as a development to provide these filling stations that we're calling them. We understand they'll be painted black. However, they'll be installed in the subdivisions that will be able to fill up the water trucks to be able to combat fires out there in the rural area. Currently in the ETJ, the cities are requiring them, and they're being put in. And right now, we have some subdivisions that are in the area of North Alamo that we're dealing with, and we feel that I think this is a good approach to try to provide that capacity to fight fires out there without having the fire personnel to travel so far to be able to fill up their water trucks.
What is the average cost to the developer?
Fire hydrants, when you install them new, sir, usually could run anywhere around $1,500, and I'm thinking maybe $2,000. Versus if you have to go put them after the line's installed, it could go up to $4,000 because you got to do a wet tap versus a dry installation during the construction development. It's not something that we believe on the development would really, I guess, kill the development or anything like that.
You're recommending it?
I am recommending it, Judge, for the simple reason that we feel that it could provide some assistance to our people out in the rural area. And my understanding of the way they combat fires now is in the area, they have to go to the nearest fire hydrant, fill up the water trucks, and then go fight the fires and feed the pumper trucks to fight them. Basically, they would do the same thing here, but it would just be in the rural areas. You would have a fire hydrant closer to where some of our fires take place. They wouldn't directly connect to them to fight the pumper trucks, but they would use that to fill the water trucks. From there, they suck the water out to fight the fires. Now, we did consult with our fire marshal, in-house fire marshal, and he's for it as well.
I mean, I think it's important.
Yeah, it's important.
We believe it is, Judge, and that's why we've been looking at this, and I know in the ETJ, the cities have been requiring them, and we feel that in the rural area, I think because of some of the situations that we've seen out there, some of the fires that have taken place, we want to be able to.
There's probably a greater need to have it in the rural area than.
Yes, sir, we believe that we need to do that. I would recommend for it, Judge, and I'm recommending.
You probably get a better insurance rate also on the home.
It should help.
Insurance. Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Great. Thank you very much.
Precinct 1.
Judge, Commissioners,
Commissioner, I'm going to make one quick call.
we're requesting authorization to approve a name change in the Monte Alto community approved by the Development Council 911 Division. The proposed name is Pilo Galvan Street.
Move for approval. Second.
We got a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Morning, Commissioner. Sergio Cruz, Department of Budget and Management. Item 19A1 is approval of 2013 interfund transfer in the amount of $178,142 for the Thomas Road project. This is the TxDOT project. Requesting approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Good morning. 20A1, 2, A, B, and C. Nothing to report or action to be taken. On item 3, this is a presentation of multiple bids received. And for the hot mix, it's for the Type D hot mix asphalt, gravel, and limestone. We have, let me get my notes here. We had 7 packets requested, 1 sole bid received. That is from Frontera Materials. We have consensus by all users that the La Jolla plant for Frontera Materials should be the awarded vendor.
Hold on, Marty, Mingo, are you listening to that? Are you listening to what Marty's got? There's several vendors in the west that want to go ahead and, I don't know if they go.
This is just, there's 2 items, Commissioner. Yeah. On the other one, it's, oh, this is number 3, I'm sorry. Hold on, give me a second. I went over too far. On this one, this is 3, presentation of the multiple bids received, and this is for the hot mix Kool-Aid. This is 6 packets were requested. There's 2 bids received, Frontera and Valley Caliche, and it's a multiple award.
And
I went to 3 instead of, I went to 4.
Apparently there was somebody else that, I don't know, Mingo, come talk to Marty about it. Yo sé, pero they're also talking about gravel and limestone.
Limestone and gravel, yes.
You told me that they had already gotten with Marty. Talk to her, ask her. You were in charge of it. Drop the ball.
No, I mean, this is for limestone and gravel, ¿verdad, Marty?
Gravel and limestone, yes.
Right.
Let me look at my backup, Commissioner.
Yep.
So we need to approve it today?
Not unless you want to wait another week.
Yeah, get with Mingo on that.
You think
because
there
Mingo
might
had
be an
some
error?
There were some other vendors that wanted to,
We had Progreso Materials, Valley Caliche, Frontera, Chemical Lime, Rio Valley Pipe, and Prime Vendor.
20.
Those were the ones that picked up packets for this.
Is it time sensitive, Marty?
I don't believe so, Commissioner. We want it
let's
on
wait
for next week?
and get with Mingo on that.
Okay, I will do that.
What
Okay,
item
now
are you
going to
ready?
item
That's on
4.
number
So
three,
no
right?
action on 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
No action on 3. Then going to item 4, presentation of the sole bid received, and this is for the hot mix co-laid road material. 7 packets were distributed, 1 sole bid received, Frontera Materials, La Jolla Plant. We recommend action.
Well, that one can wait, it's part of that.
You want that to
Yeah.
wait? Okay. All right, so no action on
On 4.
3 and 4.
Okay.
Okay, going on to the next item. Let me just get back to my agenda. Is item 5. Let me distribute this to you all for your review, although it was uploaded this morning.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Lone Star National Bank.
Thank you.
Okay. This is pursuant to Government Code 116, Section 024, at the meeting at which banks, item 1A, at the meeting which banks are to be selected as county depositories, the Commissioners Court shall A, enter into the minutes. That was done back on March the 12th, announcing the submission of 4 applications and 1 letter, BBVA Compass, Frost Bank, International Bank, Lone Star National Bank, and a letter from First National. I'm just repeating that pursuant to the code. Item B, consider all applications and presentation of scoring grid by the grading committee for the purposes of ranking the qualified applicants that offer the most favorable terms and conditions for the handling of county funds. As you can see from your spreadsheet, we had 2 very competitive banks. They all actually were very eager to submit their application and offer us a selection. We have one member, we have quite a few members of the committee here. If you have any questions, we do have some of them present, including our treasurer, Norma Garcia. And as you can see, BBVA Compass Bank averaged 87.57, Frost Bank 85, International Bank 80.14, and Lone Star National Bank at 89.43. Does the court wish to rank them in the order of their scores?
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 2 is authorization for the grading committee to proceed to finalize a depository bank contract and a lockbox agreement for Hidalgo County or Hidalgo County Drainage District Number 1. You have that pending issue. Commencing with the highest ranked applicant is who we will start to negotiate with.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And now item B1, this is for the Sheriff's Office requesting to reject the bids received since bids did not meet specifications for electronic security system maintenance and repair services, and re-advertise the same.
Move for approval?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And I shall place those other 2 items for next week for consideration. Thank you.
Are we going to be paying more or less, or?
Well, that remains to be seen after our negotiations. Our goal is to give
How
you
do
the
we
best.
handle do we recess now, Steve, and take over the drainage?
We can go ahead and go to executive session, come back in open session, finish
Okay.
Commissioner's Court, and then go back to drainage.
All right. What about the sheriff's office item?
We just did it.
All right. Need a motion to proceed to executive session then. Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries. Mr. Guerra?
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. I just have 1 second here.
There's no real estate issue and there's no pending or potential.
Correct, yes, sir, Judge. Moving on to, under open session, item C, claim of Doradera. Judge, Commissioners, I'd like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $1,000.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item D, under open session, claim of Maria E. Sanchez. Judge, Commissioners, I'd like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $150.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Item E, claim of Jaime Piñon. Judge, Commissioners, I'd like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $110.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item F, claim of Yesenia Alvarez. Judge, Commissioners, I'd like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $145.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge, Commissioners, item G, EEOC charge number 451-2013-00146, Delma Cadena. Judge, Commissioners, I would ask the court to entertain a settlement of this claim in the amount of $15,000. If the court does approve to settle this claim in the amount of $15,000, I'd like to put on the record that it would be made payable to Delma Cadena and Anthony and Middlebrook PC.
Second.
What was the name of it? Anthony Middlebrook?
Anthony and Middlebrook PC.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Oh, and that did include the authority to execute settlement agreement and documents, correct, Judge? Motion second.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Judge.
What?
No, for the record, that did include to execute the settlement documents with all attachments.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. At this time, we're going to be convening our Drainage District Board of Directors meeting, reconvening it for today and under item 8 that we had previously recessed. Yes, sir. Mr. Garza.
I would recommend that the district proceed as similar to the action that the county is taking on the depository account.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. That takes care of
That's it, sir.
everything, correct?
Yes, sir.
Adjourn drainage district.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.